Listen, bigot, just because we're outside your house doesn't mean we're dangerous. Yeah, it does. Stalking, you freaking weirdos. Keep things in perspective. This is the event we're speaking of. Click the links for Odyssey, BitChute. Join the Gab Discord. Good way to keep in touch as I get kicked off platform to platform. Or support the channel by becoming a member or crypto or coffee, that kind of thing. Thanks for the recent donation yesterday. You know who you are, Mr. Anonymous, and that was very generous. So today in clown, well, I can't say, I'll have to say Joker Planet, because the other phrase for that is a dog whistle. It turns out everything's a dog whistle. Now here's the thing about dog whistles. If you're mentally ill, you're paranoid delusions, then everything's a dog whistle. Now, some of it's projection, too. They're out to hurt people, so they think that people are out to hurt them. It's like, no, we just don't want to be hurt. Like come to people's houses. Here's the thing, and I'm obviously not advocating going to anyone's house, and even people on Twitter were looking at these people like, this is an L for your side. The address is blurred out. Is everyone's got a domicile? So how would these people feel if they were if you had people hanging outside their house? They'd be terrified, and they'd be rightfully so, because it shows a breach in social etiquette. If someone's outside your house, that elevates the threat level way, way up. Because it's like, you don't know how somebody's going to respond. It's like, anything can happen. It's not something you do in a civilized society. And this chick, she lives in a castle. It's like, it's semi-private. I mean, there's repeating information. There's like public disclosure of private facts or semi-private facts, where it's like, yeah, the information's out there. You can find out where she lives. But to republish it is also, at least under defamation law, there's like this something is the initial publication and the republishing. So doing this, like with her address in the background, is creepy, really creepy things. And how would you feel if someone came to your house? J.K. Rowling doesn't have anything to do with your rights. She expressed an opinion on Twitter about a woman who got fired, who said, hey, maybe women's spaces should be for women. I'll go a step further and say maybe men's spaces. No maybe about it. Men's spaces should be for men and women's spaces should be for women. Here's something they have a problem with. When you say, hey, do you believe that men and women should be able to have their own spaces and be able to exclude people that they choose to exclude? Like, do you believe in ultimately women's only spaces, men's only spaces? And they hem and haw, and they bend over backwards, and ultimately they say no, they don't believe that women should be allowed to have their own spaces. And they always seem to forget about men. And really, it's like, I'm all pro men's rights and all this kind of stuff, but the threat against men is just not the same as against women. If you're in a men's room, it's just not the same. If a woman women use men's rooms all the time. They use them in bars all the time because they don't want to wait for the women's room, so they just go in and use the stall. It's if you're in the right part of town, it's perfectly normal, perfectly safe. So the threat is somewhere serious. You go, oh, hey, should women be able to have their own spaces, clubs, whatever? Like there's Facebook makeup clubs where trans people are joining. But obviously that's not that important. But other things like whatever, like physical things in groups. It goes, should women have their own spaces with the right to exclude? This concept of, can we set boundaries and exclude others? This is us. This is a line in the sand. This is you. You're not welcome at our space. And that sounds incredibly harsh, but it's like, well, is everyone welcome to everyone's space? No. I mean, ultimately, like, do you have bodily autonomy? Ooh, be careful on YouTube talking about that, right? Do you have bodily autonomy or not? A lot of these, you know what, even joking about that on YouTube is like, oh, your channel got suspended for 2 weeks. What happened? I dared to question the narrative. Do you have the right to exclude other people? This guy wrote the article, Alex Bollinger. He's on Twitter. He's got like 300 followers, which is kind of weird when you're somebody in the community and you only have 300 followers on Twitter. Probably means you're pretty boring. Sorry to all those people with only 300 followers. Women, female of the species, bear young, and men carry sperm. And saying that now is hate speech. And yeah, not all women bear young, but only women bear young. In 20 years, is this even going to be a thing? I think it's just a fad, like a lot of things are just fads. exploring your gender, which seems to be a popular thing for people to do now, that's a complete waste of time. There's many other things you could be doing that would be a better use of your time than quote unquote exploring your gender. And a lot of things, like people say this stuff on Twitter just for clicks and likes and stuff, or like some actor who's not getting enough attention. I forget that chick's name. She's some kind of actor. She was gaining a little bit of weight. And then she got on Twitter and started to explore her gender and be pan and poly and all this kind of stuff. It's like, you're just an actor. Just lose weight and go back to acting, and you won't need to artificially inflate yourself this way. Even thing is, as a grift, like if you're trying to jump on this as a grift to get a social media following and get that those sweet PayPal bucks coming in, that was like 5 years ago, or maybe at the most a few years ago. It's like 40% of people nowadays, of people under like 25 nowadays, identify as BLT. It's like, it's so amorphous. It's like, oh, I'm BLT too. Oh, sweet, so am I. It's like, okay, well, what does it really mean? I don't know. I just I looked at a chick in college. I got drunk and kissed a chick in college. It's like that seems to be what college girls. It's like, oh, I'm BLT now because I kissed some girl in college at a party to get attention. It's like, okay, then, all right. I mean, it's like, here's the attention you ordered. I mean, as a grift, it's like, if it was 5 years ago, listen, if you were like a good looking thin dude and you wanted to like do a makeup channel on YouTube 5 years ago, you'd have the money rolling in. Nowadays, not so much. You could start a cooking channel, an exercise channel, something like that. It'd be a better use of your time. Now, here's the thing with trans. It's a religion to them now, the BLT stuff, and not really the BL stuff so much as the T stuff. Seems to be really in its own category of adherence to dogma, where to question it means you're in the haram, you're an untouchable now. You've questioned dogma, you must be destroyed. Stalking somebody at their home makes you look dangerous because you are. Oh, and also it's funny that when she dared to come out for saying women, I think she said something like women have the right to their own statement. I don't remember the whole thing of it. Everyone in Hollywood immediately sold her out, which shows you the backbone in Hollywood. But also, you know, it's not even their fault. And I doubt she expected anyone to stick up for her. Even the people that were in, you know, the Harry Potter movies. If they did stick up for her, they'd never work in Hollywood again. They'd be done. So it's like, she doesn't expect them to put their nose out. There's no point. It's enough that she sticks up for herself. It's like she's making these statements, and some people are finally starting to look at all this stuff coming down. It's not just the BLT stuff. It's like it all combines together. It's like you look at the looting, you look at BLT, you look at the massive crime wave, and like everyone's starting to look at all this stuff and kind of lump it together under this like CRT and like trans kids in schools, and it's like it's woke, it's anti-white, it's some kind of degeneracy. It's all lumped into this stuff, and like, oh, it's socialism, Marxism, communism, Leninism, Englism. It's like it's globalism. It's all degeneracy. It's all degenerate globalism. It's probably not good to say on YouTube. No wonder you're not monetized anymore. It all kind of lumps into that like left wing thing. It's just authoritarianism of the left. Okay, I did want to say, this guy Bollinger makes these insane claims. He goes, J.K. Rowling compared the quiet protest of 3 people outside her house, showing the address, you left that out, to snuggle threats. Okay, well, there's a little bit more to it than that. She said she had received extinction threats and snuggle threats, enough threats to paper her home. She didn't compare it to this nebulous threat someone being a victim. She's compared it to threats against herself. She's directly saying she received threats of violence done against her by you fucking weirdos. But with your little clever syntax here, you're burying the lead a little bit. And then down below, she said, okay, so these 3 fucking weirdos go to her house, show her address, and hold up the signs looking like the fucking weirdos that they are. And then J.K. Rowling says, yeah, I've received so many death threats I could paper the house with them, and I haven't stopped speaking out. Perhaps I'm just throwing this out there. The best way to prove that your movement isn't a threat to women is to stop stalking, harassing, and threatening us. Rowling concluded, if there is any evidence that the activist she attacked by showing that they stalked at her house, were stalking, harassing, or threatening her, she didn't share it. Did you forget this picture? They're outside her house, you freaking weirdo. This is the evidence of the stalking, harassing, and attacking. She's received death threats and rape threats for years now because she dared to say women are women and women have the right to their own space, bodily autonomy, creating boundaries. This is us, and you are not us. Our own affinity groups. If you don't have the right, it starts with bodily autonomy, and then it moves up from that to some kind of geographic autonomy or ideological autonomy. So this is a group for this special interest. If your only point is to come in this group and destroy it, like SGWs do with whatever groups, they come in, if it's catching fire, they'll come in and they try to subvert it like the fucking parasites they are. This is them outside her house. The address is blurred out. This is the stalking. She's been threatened for years. What are you talking about, you fucking weirdo?